Gangster rap, or hardcore rap, is generally considered a subgenre of the larger category of rap music, which itself is a subcategory of hip-hop. Gangster rap is differentiable from other rap music in that it makes use of images of urban life associated with crime, horror, and, too. According to the Encyclopedia Britannica definition of gangster rap, the top 4 images associated with the genre are violence, drugs, materialism and sexual promiscuity. Gangster rappers as defined in the hip-hop social group. As the hip-hop movement has gained recognition throughout the United States, it has established itself as one of the fastest growing social groups anywhere. In the late 1990s, immediately following the murders of both Tupac Shakur and Christopher Wallace, 2 nationally known gangster rappers, a propaganda campaign escalated against rap music and the hip-hop culture. Slaughter. Although gangster rap only represented a small percentage of the hip-hop culture at the time, all hip-hop and rap music was instantly stereotyped negatively as being gangster-like. Why? Well, this gangster version of hip-hop was the highest-selling and most recognized form of hip-hop music among the majority class, and many critics have determined that this is because America is in love with sex, drugs and violence. Whaley. Hip-hop's rejection of inferior social group status. Only Tajful, a social psychologist who developed a theory of intergroup relations and social change, argues that members of a social group deemed inferior by a majority class can either accept or reject their inferior position in society. If a group refuses to accept its inferior position in society as just, it will attempt as a group to change things. Co-8s, 8-9. A large number of hip-hop artists have used their musical lyrics to reject the inferior social status placed upon them by the majority class. The reconstruction of the gangster identity. I have found that hip-hop artists use lyrics, both musical and poetic, to redefine the negative characteristics given to their culture by the majority class, and in the process, reconstruct the gangster identity. By examining these hip-hop and gangster rap lyrics as text, I will show ways in which the lyrics attempt to reconstruct the stereotype gangster rap identity by examining different views of violence, drugs, materialism and sexual promiscuity. In the end, one tends to wonder, who exactly are the real gangsters? Violence that the hip-hop culture represents. Gangster-like violence is perhaps the biggest disputed claim amongst hip-hop artists. In order to disprove this claim, many hip-hop artists have pointed to the violence that exists within the majority social group, and how it leads to violence all over the world. In Violence, Tupac demonstrates his belief that violence was prevalent long before gangster rap existed. I told them fight back, attack on society. If this is violence, then violence what I gotta be. If you investigate you'll find out where it's coming from. Look through our history, America's the violent one. Here, the poet points to American society as the violent one and that he has to be violent in order to fight back. In Who Knew, Eminem showed a similar viewpoint by expressing his belief that violence is a common occurrence in American society, yet not challenged in genres outside of the urban environment. So who's bringing the guns in this country? I couldn't sneak a plastic pellet gun through customs over in London, and last week, I seen a Schwarzenegger movie where he's shooting all sorts of these bad guys with an Uzi. Here, the poet questions the existence of violence in a country that allows firearms and violent movies. In Casualties of War, Rakim blames the United States government, specifically its head of state, as the group causing the violence in society with their warlike ways. I'ma get back to New York in one piece, but I'm bent in the sand that is hot as the city streets sky lights up like fireworks. Blind me bullets, whistling over my head remind me. President Bush said attack. Flashback to now, I might not make it back. In this text, the poet refers to our country's decision to go to war as an example of the violence that exists amongst the majority social class. In The Watcher, Dr. Dre redefines the negative characteristic of violence by pointing to the police force as the source of violence, and therefore, referring to them as gangster-like. Things just ain't the same for gangsters. Cops is anxious to put people in handcuffs. They wanna hang us, see us dead or enslave us, keep us trapped in the same place we raised, and then they wonder why we act so outrageous, run around stressed out and pull out gauges, cause every time you let the animal out cages it's dangerous to people who look like strangers. Here, the poet accuses the majority class of keeping them trapped in the same place we raised in, and that the perceived violence is only due to the introduction of people who look like strangers. These are examples of how hip-hop artists redefine the image of violence by showing how it exists or is created within the majority social group. Drugs. Another common disputed stereotype of hip-hop artists is their use and distribution of illegal drugs. In attempts to redefine this negative characteristic, many hip-hop artists are pointed at the majority social group as the facilitator of drug abuse. In Justify My Thug, Jay-Z speaks directly to members of government, raising questions about who has made the availability and use of these drugs possible. Mr. President, there's drugs in our residence. Tell me what you want me to do. Come break bread with us, Mr. Governor. I swear there's a cover-up every other corner. There's a liquor store. What is up? In this example, the poet inquires as to why there is a liquor store in every other corner of his community. In I Want to Talk to You, Nas uses the same approach to challenge the notion of drug distribution by asking his representatives what they would do in his situation. Why y'all made it so hard? Damn, people gotta go create their own job, Mr. Mayo. Or imagine if this was your backyard, Mr. Governor. Or imagine if it was your kids that starved. Imagine your kids got to sling crack to survive. Here, the poet claims that the distribution of drugs is not only an effect of the poverty that exists in his environment, but also a means of survival. In Manifesto, Talib Kweli actually accuses the government of being the body which allows drugs into the country. Like the CIA be bringing in crack cocaine bailing out of planes with the George Bush connections. I push reflection like I'm selling IZM. Like a dealer bulled in the system, supply and the demand. It's all capitalism. People don't sell crack cause they like to see black smoke. People sell crack cause they broke. In this example, the poet accuses the CIA of flying drugs into the country, and again reiterates the point that it is a means of survival due to the supply and demand of a capitalist society. In It Feels Good to Be a Gangster, the Ghetto Boys fully redefine the negative characteristic of drug distribution by accusing the president of being a drug dealer, and therefore, a gangster. And now, a word from the president. Damn, it feels good to be a gangster, getting voted into the White House, everything looking good to the people of the world, but the mafia family is my boss, so every now and then I owe a favor, getting down like letting a big drug shipment through and send them to the poor community so we can bust you know who. These examples show how hip-hop artists redefine the image of being drug dealers and users by again pointing to the majority class as the creator of the drug problem in this country. Materialism. Hip-hop music is also seen by the majority class as a genre dominated by materialism. Again, artists point back to the majority class in an attempt to redefine this negative characteristic. In Respiration, Black Star points to all the wealth surrounding urban areas, and how it absorbs the lower class in materialism, making them want parts of that wealth. Where mercenaries is paid to trade hot stock tips for profits, thirsty criminals take pockets hard knuckles on the second hands of working class watches skyscrapers is colossus, the cost of living is preposterous, stay alive, you play or die, no options. Here, the poet talks about various materialistic aspects of the majority class, and how the lower class must play or die to stay alive. In All Falls Down, Kanye West actually blames this materialism on American society. It seems we're living the American dream, but the people highest up got the lowest self-esteem. The prettiest people do the ugliest things for the road to riches and diamond rings. In this example, the poet blames the American dream for materialism, saying it causes people to do the ugliest things for riches and diamond rings. In Los Angeles Times, Exhibit also blames this materialism on the majority class, claiming that is what the youth are taught coming up in urban environments. Welcome to LA, where you can see the whole city burning cause the cops got uses and the dealers keep serving and your kids ain't learning it. Accept this sex, power and wealth, forget everything else. Here, the poet expresses his belief that certain aspects of materialism, including power and wealth, are taught to children through occurrences in society. These are examples how hip-hop artists redefine the negative characteristic of being materialistic by showing examples of how this materialism is prevalent in the majority class, and often created within that class. Sex. And the final debated stereotype of the hip-hop social class is that they are sexually promiscuous, often leading to disrespectful treatment towards women. The poets also attempt to redefine this stereotype by blaming the core of the problem on society. In Pussy Galore, the Roots claim that the country's obsession with sex is pushed by sexually driven marketing campaigns. Looking out the limo window up at the billboard's 200 miles, she was the only thing I saw, promoting everything From the liquor to the nicotine, cell phones, antihistamines, chicken wings, you gotta show a little skin to get them listening for real. Yo, the world is a sex machine. In this example, the poet retells a personal experience in which he saw sex advertisements as promoting everything, and in order to get them listening, he claims, you gotta show a little skin. In Get By, Talib Kweli blames this sexual obsession on what we view on television. The TV got us reaching for stars, not the ones between Venus and Mars, the ones that we're reading for parts. Some people get breast enhancements and penis enlargers. Here, the poet expresses his belief that television creates a misconception of what people should be sexually, and that contributes to the promiscuity that is being blamed on the hip-hop movement. Hip-hop artists have used their lyrics and poetry to influence the rejection and reconstruction of the gangster identity that plagues their social class. This is accomplished with a redefining of negative characteristics assigned by the majority class. In most cases, these redefinitions included pointing to the majority class as the real holders of these negative characteristics. The redefining of these gangster-like images through hip-hop lyrics helps to reconstruct the gangster identity by questioning gangster-like behaviors and which social class actually has these behaviors. So the question presented is, who exactly are the gangsters? Works cited discography: Tupac Ellipse Now, Jive Records, 1991, Black Star, Mos Def and Talib Kweli are Black Star, Raucous Records, 1998, Co-8s, Jennifer, Women, Men and Language, Longman Publishing, New York, 1993, Dr. Dre, The Chronic 2001, Interscope Records, 1999, Eminem, The Marshall Mathers LP, Interscope Records, 2000, Dito Boys, Uncut Dope LP, Interscope Records, 1999, Horan, Jason, Adunlady Like Divas, Language, Gender and Female Gangster Rappers, Popular Music and Society, December, 2003, Jay-Z, The Black Album, Def Jam, 2003, Kanye West's College Dropout, ROC Records, 2004, Nas, I Am, Sony Records, 1999, Rakim, Don't Sweat the Technique, MCA Records, 1992, Raucous Records, Lyricist Lounge Volume 1, Priority Records, 1999, Slaughter, Peter, Attack on Rap Music, Baruti Weekly News, the 14th of June, 1997, Talib Kweli and DJ High Tech, Train of Thought, Raucous Records, 2000, Talib Kweli, Quality, Raucous Records, 2003, The Roots, Phrenology, MCA Records, 2002, Whaley, Angela, Hip Hop is Not for Sale, Colorado State University's Talking Back, Volume 3, Issue 1, Exhibit 40 Days and 40 Nights, Loud Records, 1998.